Friday. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie is on the air, and you are a huge part of it. So we look forward to hearing. I know we're going to hear from many of you today. Phone number is 1-800-585-9396. You can also text us and put in the letters EWTN and just fire it off to 55000. Put in your first name, comment, question. We'll be happy to try and work that into the program. Do you give your kids an allowance, or did you get an allowance when you were a kid? This is what we're talking about today. And Debbie, I think this ties in many ways with our faith, with virtue, with maturity, with responsibility. So we're going to ask those of you who want to weigh in on this topic to give us a call right now.
So do you give your kids an allowance, a set allowance, as maybe once a week they get to come to you on Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock and hold their hand out and you give them a $5 bill or something of that nature, a set allowance? Or as a child, and I'm having flashbacks myself of my childhood, did you get a set allowance or did you have to earn it? Or was it something like in my family, we were encouraged to open up a savings account very early on. And my parents said, well, when you get your birthday money or babysitting money or landscaping, you know, we used to rake leaves and in New Jersey, obviously shoveling snow, we would have to save the money and then use that for future, for future fun stuff if we wanted to do that. So that's what happened in my household. That's why I was having a flashback. I don't ever remember getting a set allowance, but we want to hear from you. There's open phone lines right now. This could be a very engaging conversation. We could learn a little bit about maybe also about a sense of entitlement, because we know we have a culture of entitled folks out thinking that they may have a right to money and stuff like that. And is that learned in our childhood? It's a very interesting topic, and it does, Jerry, weave into our spiritual life. So here's the number, 1-800-585-9396.
Well, and maybe this whole concept of an allowance has changed since you were young and growing up. Because, Debbie, we look around today and we see young people with virtually anything they want, the whatever the coolest new jeans are that are all torn in
expensive sneakers
different
too.
places,
yeah.
Sneakers, smartphones, and so forth. So I mean, somebody let me know. I mean, does an allowance really matter to young people anymore? I'd love to hear a take on that. And how has it changed maybe since you were young? 800-585-9396. I think I'm kind of like you, Debbie. There was no real consistent pattern of an allowance as we were growing up, but we had other ways of earning money or getting money. One of the cool ways was in Little League Baseball. Our mother and stepfather at the time, for every base we got while we were batting, we got 25 cents. Which
what?
seemed like a lot of money.
Say that again.
Well, so if we got a home run, we got $1, because that's first base, second base, third base, home. A home run, you cover 4 bases.
Who gave that to you?
Our parents.
Wow.
So if we got a single, a double, and a triple in the game, then we would get $50 after the game. So
you were like semi-professionals. You were playing for money.
Oops. I hope there's no retroactive punishment for that.
That is interesting. I've never heard of that before. So that encouraged you to play harder, obviously.
Well, yeah, and it's not like we did without anything growing up, but we didn't. I don't think we had it like young people do today, and I'm not saying that critically, but I remember I had my first job when I was 12. I used to save copper tubing. We used to go around and find copper and save that and take it. I used to peel cascara bark and stuff like that. So I did a lot of things to earn money.
Did you ever collect cans?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Marty did that.
But what about, dear friends, straight up giving your kids money? Okay, is that something you do? Maybe do you kind of expect a few little chores for that, or is it just like, hey, we think you need a few bucks to spend every week, every month? 800-585-9396.
Or if you set the ground rules, like what Jerry was saying, doing household chores or getting a certain grades, or if you read so much. I know I have a couple friends that their children, when they were growing up, they used to say, like, if you would do an hour of reading a day, so they would encourage them to stretch beyond themselves or learn a language and something like that. And so it's not like really bribing them or paying them for it. It's just encouraging them to, like you, Jerry, with these sports, it just makes them strive a little harder. So what are your thoughts about giving your kids allowances? You can share about your own childhood like we did, or you can share what you're doing with your children. And does it breed a sense of entitlement? I mean, think about it. I mean, if your kids expect it, what right really do they have to that money if they didn't earn it? So, I mean, it's kind of an interesting topic we're talking about today. And I'm sure if Dr. Ray is listening, he's probably listening intently because I know he's covered these topics a few different times. And he
has 10 kids, so that's expensive every week for allowance.
That's true. That's very true. So this is going to be a really good show. 1-800-585-9396. We've got phone calls coming in. That is wonderful. There's an open phone line for you. I think it has your name on it. So if you're prompted by the Spirit to contribute to this conversation, then dial in 1-800-585-9396. We're talking today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie about if you give your kids allowances, or did you get an allowance growing up? It's going to be an interesting show, and it does relate to our spirituality. So stay with us the entire hour.
All too often, we pray too small. Lord, help me just to hang on today. Help me not crumble under the pressures of life. Is that all you think God is capable of? Friends, we don't have a God of just getting by. We have a God who promises life to the full. We don't have a God who sometimes helps his people out. We have a God who splits seas, conquers death, moves hearts, and makes heroes. What action in salvation history makes you think your God is small or incapable? Don't just ask God to help your marriage. Ask him to help you sweep your wife off her feet again. Don't ask him to help you stay strong under the pressures of life. Ask him to make you a blazing light shining to everybody you meet. Don't just ask him for a drop of water. Ask for rivers of living water to flow from within you to a thirsty world. Live meekly, but pray big. Our God is mighty, and we are his children. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
The EWTN Warriors Rosary is a fitting tribute to all the spiritual warriors who have stood by us over the years. Handcrafted, each rosary is a unique creation. Get yours today. Visit EWTNRC.com.
Peggy Normandin.
I was really pretty vain in my mid-20s. I was consumed with all those, superficial trappings in life. Well, during this time, I had a dream where my grandmother appeared to me. She was a very loving, plain, modest woman of great faith. Well, in the dream, she was absolutely radiant. And she said, "This is what I look like now. Everything is perfect in heaven, Peggy. This is all that matters." What a powerful spiritual wake-up call that was.
Call Me Catholic with Peggy Normandin. Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Hello, this is Bishop Robert Baker from the Diocese of Birmingham in Alabama.
I'm Peggy Normandin, but you can call me Catholic.
Hello, friends. This is Father Wade Menezes of the Fathers of Mercy. Thanks for listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Great to have you with us as we end a broadcast week. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie talking about allowances for kids. How was it when you grew up? How is it now if you're a parent? And all sorts of related issues. And by the way, the show re-airs on many of these affiliates at midnight Eastern Time, so noon and midnight here on EWTN Radio. Thank you, affiliates. We appreciate it so much. Christine, we're going to start with you in Concord, New Hampshire, listening to EWTN Radio on Hope FM. Hello, Christine. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Just be real quick. I just felt like calling in because I feel that giving them automatic allowances isn't really what we want to portray to our kids. Because when I grew up, and also with what we did with our own 3 children, is being part of the family. There are some expectations of just helping the family and making it function, and everyone, learning from each other, forgiving and all that, including chores, is all part of family life. And, if you think about it, husband and wives, we don't say, well, if you do this extra chore, you get this money. I mean, it's just, they're part of the family too. So, and yet with that said, I know they need spending money here and there as they get older, and as you had said, saving it in a savings account or whatever. But the only other time I think we've ever given them money if there was some huge job that was extraordinarily difficult, and we thought they were saving money for something, for a prom ticket to take a girl to the prom or something, we'd give them this big job and say, I think I'll give you this for that. But never have we, they have their chores and things. It's part of family life, and then they get more pride, I think, out of it that way.
Christine, I think that's excellent. I was sharing with Jerry on the break that do you know of other families that give set allowances? Because I remember when I was raising my kids, there was another family in the neighborhood that actually did give a set allowance. The reason why I knew that is because my kids would come home and said, hey, my friend down the street gets so much money a week. And I said, well, that's good for him. Then go move down the street.
They kind of already know. We're pretty opinionated, and we've kind of set that right off the bat. When they would talk about that, even on their own, they said, I don't think that's right. They should be helping their family anyway. So right. I think we must have did something right for. But they're not perfect. We're not perfect. But I think if it encourages them down the road, you want them to have a sense of. And when I said pride, I didn't mean like a
I get it.
kind of
we
pride.
Get it.
I mean that a sense that they're contributing to the family, and it gives them a good feeling. I just think that would actually lessen it or take away from it.
Right. And it builds maturity to know that you're part. Like, I loved what you had to say when you said there's expectations in the family. And that to me is just really how we learn, because the family is the domestic church, and it builds that maturity, which is going to take them to other avenues in life. And
that is a great point. Yeah. And I really do think it does lessen it with the money, and it's almost as if it cheapens it in a way that I just think it raises the bar if they're raised in a way that they look at these chores as more of love. It's just giving to one another instead of looking at it in a monetary amount. And yet there are many, if it's another whole topic for discussion, like when you talked about getting a bank account, that might be a whole separate thing on how do we encourage fiscal responsibility in our children and
right.
Saving and all that. That's another whole thing. But when it comes to just the day-to-day functionings, and everyone should be kind of learning, and then the older ones teach the younger ones, and and then they kind of get that sense of responsibility, like, let me show you how to mow, let me show you what I do, or let me show you how I, and it gives them a chance to be a leader and a teacher and things like that.
Right on. Yeah, Christine, I hear what
guys.
Yeah, thank you, Christine, for the call. What I hear you saying, and Debbie, you too, is really it's about responsibility, and we want to teach our young kids to be responsible with, whatever it is, with duties, chores, finances, things like that, and really to mature and become the best version of themselves. So we're going to see what some other folks have to say. John in Dallas is with us on Guadalupe Radio today. Hi, John. Welcome to Take Two.
Is this the John you're talking to?
Yeah, you are on the air, John, in Dallas.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, I didn't know if there happened to be another one on the phone. So,
welcome.
I first of all, thank you very much for taking the phone, and I would love to parallel along with the get down to the philosophical approach to.
John, we're not getting you very clearly, John. Forgive me.
How about now?
Yeah, there you go. That's better.
Perfect.
Okay, all right. I'm holding the little microphone closer. Forgive me.
No problem.
So,
got you loud and clear now.
It is the philosophical approach behind this whole thing. I mean, just like Christine said, there's lots of tangents here, and there's lots of subjects that we could talk about, but the one behind this is an allowance for the kids. What is it about, and what's it for? And basically the way we approach it in our family, and I introduced it, and it took my wife a while to really catch on, but we both did after a period, but we paid our children for their grades. Now, that alone is controversial, and all of the parents that I've talked with after all these years, I haven't met another one, to be honest with you, that paid their children for their grades. But the approach behind it was pretty much what we're talking about. First of all, the family is a unit. And I do not get paid when I come home to take the trash out. I lovingly do that because I'm part of the family unit. And we express this concept to our children that we all are part of this family unit. But let's talk about grades. I go to work and I get paid. Your work is school. So now it was a definition of, well, what's the approach on how to pay kids for grades? And what do you teach them, and what will they learn from that? Contributing, their contribution among being a family member and helping in the family is getting up and then hopefully enjoying going to do what they're going to do during the day, just like I do. And we talked with them about that. And I talked with them about the grades and how they get paid. And the concept between a C student, I'm proud of C workers in this world. These are the people that go to work, they're there on time, they do their job, they do their job exactly like they're asked to do, and they go home. They're pleasant, they're nice. So what makes the difference between a B student or a B worker and a C worker? Well, the B worker begins to add initiative, creative thought. They go out of their way a little bit. And these concepts were explained to the kids, and the scale of money was it was not linear. It was definitely change. It was a large difference between an A or an A plus grade and a C grade. A C grade paid just fine. I mean, it was a simple system early on when they were in grade school. In high school, it was a lot more complicated. And an AP course paid a lot of money. And just to take you to the bottom line, when these kids all went off to college, excuse me, I was just off the treadmill, so I'm a little panting here.
That's all right.
By the time they all went to college, they each had close to $4,000 apiece. And when I look back, do I say, was the method successful? In some ways, in a lot of ways, I would say definitely yes. They have a good work ethic. They have really, really great study habits and time management. And I am not certain how all that happened, to be honest with you. I just thank God for that. But use that method in our home. And I remember talking with it a lot to people I work with. I have a job where I work really close with single employees. And by single, I mean one employee at a time. And they would ask a lot of questions. So I have no idea if it ever took off anywhere. But I shared that method with them and the scales that I use when they were in grade school and the skills that I use in the reasoning for in high school. So that's the idea. And
yeah, John, let me jump in here. As you're talking, I think, it sounds like this really did work. I was going to ask you if you think that it provided extra motivation for your kids. It sounds like it did. What I'm wondering about, and I'm not asking you to reveal how much you gave for grades or anything, but for something like this, and I'd love your thought on this, it seems like it's going to be more effective if it's a substantial amount of money. I mean, if I'm told as a high school student you get $3 for a C, $4 for a B, and $5 for an A, or if I'm told you get $50 for a C, 75 or 100.
Right.
So did you find that it, again, not prying or asking for specific information, but I'm sure it was something that really made this worthwhile for them? Oh, did we lose John?
John, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. Lost you just
we're
for a
curious
second.
the answer.
Yeah, sure. Well, I thought a lot about it and tried to use scales that were appropriate for their age. When they were in grade school, a $10, for an A was about the max. I don't have the sheet in front of me, but in grade school, that was about. In high school, it was significantly different. For example, when they took AP classes, they also had to take an AP test. And the AP test also has scores, and that AP test, for example, one son got a 5, and or the highest score. It's either 5 or 3, I can't remember, but he got the highest score. That one alone was close to $300 or $400, just that.
Wow.
Now that sounds like, but we're talking at the very, very top end of the scale. This is a time period when they are selecting colleges, and they're curious, and they're really wanting to go places and do things, and they realize this is the money they're going to need in college to live on, or for their extra expenses and things they want to do. So there was a connection between the desire to work for that particular goal, that particular high end.
Yeah.
So
it's fascinating, John.
As far as A's go, in high school and tests and things like that, it was in the it was in the $25-$30 range. It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Right.
It was enough for them to work for it.
Right, enough for them to work for it. Well, I have to tell you, John, just like a little tongue in cheek, but I was in a bunch of AP classes, and I was thinking, boy, did I get ripped off. I could have made a lot of money in my family.
Well, you had a wonderful approach in your family, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. I'm teasing you. But that's really interesting angle, and this is what I think is wonderful, because we don't get to have these conversations on how folks are raising their families, and what are the ground rules, and what are the guidelines, and how the family is set up. And I think it's an interesting angle that you bring to the table. One thing that I'm taking away from your story, John, is that it sounds like your kids really had a nice nest egg, if you will, to go into college, and it was earned really by them, set forth by the ground rules that you and your wife laid down for the family. And I think that's really interesting to have that. So, Jerry, I got to tell you, this is what I love doing about Take Two, because calls like John coming in, it Take Two is about taking a second look, a fresh look, and this is a whole new angle to it. Bringing up a little of my childhood wounds, I'll tell you, John, but that's okay. No, great call, John, and do a little bit more on the treadmill for Jerry and I. If you could do that, that would be great.
Thanks, John. We got a bunch of calls here. We'll let you get back to your Friday. 1-800-585-9396. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, and we're so grateful for your participation, your comments, your takes on allowances. What kind of an allowance did you get, or did you get one when you grew up? What do you do for your kids today? How has that changed? Is it grade-based? Is it based on chores? Or do you just say, hey, I know you need some spending money in your pocket, so here you go. All right, we're going to go to Meg, who is in Florida, listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius Channel 130. Hi, Meg. Welcome to this program.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just wanted to call in and say that we actually gave our children a choice when they started to come home and request an allowance. We looked at it as a type of contract negotiation with them. They had their general requirements for the family, and we expected them to do their regular chores. But if they wanted to have an allowance, then they could take a certain allowance and then take over the responsibility for paying for certain things in their lives, like if they needed a uniform for their Catholic school, if they wanted to go to the movie with the family, they would use their allowance to pay for those things. Or the other option was, if they were participating in a family activity, and they did not take that contract, then we would pay for it. But if they wanted to do something that was not including the family, they could take on extra chores to earn the money for that. So as they got older and they wanted to do more things with their friends, they had to weigh the benefit of, was this worth more work for them? Was it something that they really wanted to do? And I think it taught them that there were certain choices that just weren't worth the extra effort, and there were other ways that they wanted to put their effort into that maybe they would get more benefit from.
Well, yeah, and Meg, as has come up on the program, I'm sure you heard while you were on hold, a lot of people are really concerned about the maturation of their children, their decision-making in life, and so forth. And I love this concept simply because it encourages extra effort, extra achievement, if you will, but also, as you talked about, this discernment as they look at, the pros and cons, like you said, of whether, it's worth the time and effort to take something else on. And Debbie, I think that as they go forward in life, that could help, because when you look at college choices, when you look at career choices, you want to make those that are going to be, first of all, hopefully what God wants you to do, but also those that are going to be the most beneficial, just from a temporal standpoint, for yourself, if you're raising a family and so forth. So I think there's some great points in what Meg is saying.
I agree, Meg, with Jerry and you, in the sense that I love how you said you give your children a choice to really enter into it or agree to it. Because if you look at any type of life skills training, one of the first things you want to do is, with any type of exercise that's going to help you grow and mature in life, you want both parties buy into the exercise. So if one is just kind of issuing it and the other one has to just receive it, there's not real ownership with it. You may go along with it and it may be successful, but there's not real ownership. So I love how you said you let them choose, and then they can see what's best. And I really like that. See, another new angle, which is great. Absolutely
well, and every
wonderful.
year at their birthday, we would renegotiate. So they had the choice to go back to the. They had the choice to go back to the contract and take over their expenses. And as they got older, the choice became quicker and quicker. Nope, I'm good with this. I'll keep, just doing my extra chores, do extra things, because they saw their expenses increasing.
Exactly.
And so they knew that they wanted to do more activities. They wanted to do more sports, and they knew that, if they could find a way to keep us involved in them, then we would be paying for them. So it kind of made them choose to spend more time with the family as well, and allow us all to be involved in, activities that they enjoy. So,
right.
I mean, they were really very savvy about the way they negotiated, and we were very pleased with that because they both entered college with 60 AP credit.
Wow.
They started off as juniors in their freshman year. They're very motivated to do well.
Very cool, Meg. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Meg. Yeah, you can hear the music. It's our unmovable break, but we have more of your takes coming up.
This is Al Cresta, host of Cresta in the Afternoon, and Cresta in the Afternoon looks at all of life through the lens of Scripture and the teaching of the Catholic Church. Church teaching is the light by which we view the world, and so we'll explore everything, from abortion to Hollywood, and from the First Amendment to the United Nations, and everything in between. Following St. Paul, we're seeking transformation through the renewing of our minds. So that's Cresta in the Afternoon with me, Al Cresta, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
EWTN is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If your cable or satellite provider doesn't carry EWTN's full programming lineup, give them a call and let them know you would like to receive EWTN 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
For more information, go to EWTN.com and click on Television.
Hello, this is Brian Kemper of Priest for Life with Pro-Life Update. The Easter season is a celebration of life and a time to renew our confidence in the ultimate victory of the forces of life against the culture of death. Therefore, Priest for Life has composed a special Easter prayer for life that we invite you to say each day of this holy season. Just go to priestforlife.org and download the Easter Prayer for Life. The prayer reminds us that the victory of Christ, the author of life, is the source from which we draw strength to fight evils like abortion. So visit priestforlife.org, print out the Easter Prayer for Life, and invite your family, pro-life group, school, and parish to join us in praying it. Let us rejoice throughout this resurrection season that death can never have the last word in the human story. This is Brian Kemper on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
What a great show we're having today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We're so glad you joined us for the entire hour. When a line becomes open, we have full phone lines, but when a line becomes open, you got to jump right in at 1-800-585-9396. Just going back to Meg in Florida with her very creative, I thought it was a very creative idea with her children. I just it's Friday. It's Cinco de Mayo. When Jerry and I on the break, we were just thinking, I wonder if Meg's children are attorneys. Meg, if one of your children turn out to be a lawyer, call us back and let Matt know. We're just curious. I think the art of negotiation. I love that. Okay, so next up is Janie in Virginia, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Janie. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I really think finances is a great topic to talk in the family because it teaches them self-worth, it motivates them. I personally grew up with a single parent, and we collected cans. We did whatever we could, to make ends meet. And as I grew up, I started a summer job. My mom took money for rent, and I'm saying, well, I'm only making a little bit, Mom. Why are you taking my money? At the end of the summer, she gave it all back so I could buy clothes for the school year. And I did that to my daughter. And, of course, she was like, wow, this is great. I wouldn't have never saved this much money. Now she is, and I did pay her for grades, but not as much as the other gentleman did. I went as far as $120, and she got all A's, and she loved to read. She knew reading was important. She loved reading. We would enter her in the summer program at the library, and she would end up with a book at the end of the year, was very happy with that. Now she's overseas working. She's a copywriter for one of the companies out there, and she has money in the Roth. So she opened up her own Roth account because we've always talked about retirement. And since Social Security is going to be gone pretty soon, she knows that that's the value of she knows the value of money. And I think we should teach our kids the value of money. That's about it.
Right. Janie, that is nice. Janie, I'll say it for you, okay? Because, again, it's Friday. It's Cinco de Mayo, so we're having a celebratory day. We all wanted to grow up in John's household in Dallas, Texas. Let's just face it. We all wanted to grow up in his household. So here's the thing, though. What you did, I think, is really great because you allowed her to really think of the future, which is what from religious education, a lot of kids don't do. They're in the moment, which is great. It's being in the moment, but there's so much in the moment that they're not looking at their future circumstances or what could happen to them. They're just in that place, which is they're kind of concrete thinkers. I get it, but here's the thing: what you did is you really made her invest in her own future, literally. I love that. And coming from a financial advising background, I had 21 years in insurance. That was a great gift you gave your daughter, I have to tell you.
Thank you. I mean, I just, I love what she's doing. She's thinking, and she's saving, and yet she's having fun at the same time. You got to have some fun, going out with your friends, dinners, movies. But I think since she's an only child, she really knows that she needs to save some money.
Yeah, and you mentioned, I think, your mom was a single parent, if I recall, Janie, and my mother was too, and so this is another aspect of this whole conversation. Is what is a parent's ability to give an allowance, and then that's going to vary depending on the family circumstances and the economic circumstances within the family as well. We never went without anything. I was never hungry. But
right.
I know my mom didn't have a whole lot to be giving us, so that's why I think we never had a consistent allowance. But I still learned the values. My mother insisted that we all open savings accounts, and we were, probably junior high or high school and stuff. So it's just those lessons that we learn, and you've really taught us a lot today, Janie. Thanks.
Thank you. It's all about motivation and self-worth, and never to be embarrassed for how you grow up or how much you have, how much you don't have. It's the desire, the determination, and the dedication with God first and foremost in our lives to help us attain those goals.
Right. Well said. You're a great mom. You're a great mom.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thanks, Janie.
Thank you. Have a wonderful Cinco de Mayo today. That's a great...
Thank you. You too.
Thank
All
you.
Right, bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, so is it Marius? I cannot read
Marius,
that.
I think,
I
yeah.
cannot read that far from the screen. I'm over 50. Have I told you all that lately? Toronto, in Toronto, listening on the EWTN app. Hi, Marius.
Hello, how are you?
Doing well. Did I say your name correctly?
You said it perfectly.
Oh, bless your heart. So tell us some of your ideas.
Well, my kids are 21 and 25 right now, but when they were little, one day, how younger and older sister are always going to push each other to do their whatever they want to deal with the parents. So they came to me probably when my younger one was in the first grade, and so my older will be in the fifth. And I said, Dad, do you think we should have allowance? I'm like, I think you should. And I said, wow, that was easy. I'm like, I think if you're grown enough to come and ask me this straight up, that means you're probably at the good age. So I said, how much do you want? So they were surprised. They said, you're going to give us as much as they want. I'm like, well, let's see it. So they kind of whisper to each other and they say, how's $10? I'm like, okay. All right, $10 what? An hour, a day, a week, a year? Like, you're going to have to be more specific. If we have a grown-up conversation, let's have it. So eventually they came up with $10 a week, and I still saw two girls. We were not doing that well at the time, and I'm like, that's $20 a pop a week. It grows up over a month. But I said, okay, that's fine. The only thing is, do you guys know what taxes are? They're like, nope. Okay, well, neither did I until I start making money. And so you're going to start making money, you're going to start paying taxes. So this is how it works. You have chores around the house, and sometimes you're better with them, sometimes you're worse. The days you don't do your chores and your mom or I have to do this, we'll charge you for whatever it is. And I kind of give them a list. They were terrified. And I said, well, the more money you're making, the higher the taxes. That's how it works in the real life. So they whispered to each other, and I said, Dad, can we start this conversation from the beginning? And I'm like, absolutely. Dad, since you agreed that we should have allowance, how much do you think will be reasonable for us to get? So this is how we started, and we still agreed on certain amounts for, if you don't make up your bed, it's like $1 to me. And we agreed that the older one is okay to get a little bit more. Of course, she's going to have to, she has greater taxes, greater chores. So, if she doesn't do them, obviously, she's going to be taxed a little bit higher. It did work very well. It actually worked very well for the chores as well. It was working for many, many years. Both of them are pretty decent with the money, and they have great respect to every penny they make. They know that, things don't come free, and it did work out for us.
Marius, I think this is all just really great stuff. Debbie and I are just kind of grinning and almost laughing here, not in derision, but I think this is just marvelous what you're sharing.
I agree.
The thought that came to my mind, well, like we had Meg, whose children negotiated. I'm wondering, Marius, if either of your kids who are 21 or 25 now went into political life, maybe to lobby for a lowering of taxes.
Well, I am very proud that both follow me and that they both become medical professionals, and I couldn't be prouder of them. My younger one is literally supporting herself. She's away in school, and all we have to pay is for her tuition. She pays for everything, for her apartment, everything. We couldn't be proud of her. She does so well with her income, with work, with arrangements. And I think part of that kind of introduction at early age to money is not just something you get for, from a tree, and then you spend it on whatever you want. It's something you kind of, it comes with a challenge, with hard work, and it's good to spend it on yourself and stuff, but it's also good to respect it.
That is brilliant. I loved your story. Every part of it, I was just chuckling. And I kept thinking of all these, how kids would renegotiate or think of different ways to stay in the lower tax bracket. Marius, I was thinking maybe if your kid said, hey, if we put $5 in the collection basket at church, can we stay in the lower tax bracket?
No, but that's exactly what it was. And it's funny because you said you were laughing. Every single Christmas or Easter, that topic comes up. Someone brings it up, and we're still giggling and laughing over that because they find it so funny, and they said we're probably going to do the same to our children. I'm like, you know what? I'm not saying I came up with a totally brilliant idea, but somehow by the Holy Spirit it just came upon me because I was kind of scary to hear. Oh my God, this is the time we're trying to put money together just to make up for throughout the month on bills and payments, and now there's another spending, the children. So, but it worked out, and they start, as they were having their own money, the certain things that they wanted was on their responsibility. So like for the little one, you want a treat, you want a chocolate, sorry, you have your allowance, you figure out how much of that you want to spend on your extra treat. It's not your birthday, so there'll be more. Right. And they did have bonuses for every test that had over 90%, there was a bonus, like the salary double for that week.
That's amazing.
But it was going both directions.
Right. Well, Marius, I just wanted to say I want to be in your house during Christmas time, just to be a fly on the wall to listen to those fun conversations. But the other thing too, I think I heard you say correctly that your children followed in your footsteps in the medical profession. I just want to say it's a real testament to your parenting. I mean, they obviously respect you, and you're a role model. And so, thank you for just being a great, engaged dad. I mean, that's awesome. Way to go! Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you, Marius, for the call. We're going to entertain some other calls here, but have a blessed Friday and weekend for that matter. By the way, Marius was listening on the EWTN app, and I have it on my phone. I know Debbie does as well, and hundreds of thousands, so who knows, I don't know if it's millions, but a lot of people have the EWTN app, and this is with technology, with God giving us so many gifts in technology. Folks, let's use them. Let's take advantage of them. Look, the other side, those who want to kind of bring us down, tear our faith down, and spread negativism and all of that, they're using technology like mad. So let's do the same thing. Load the EWTN app onto your phone. It's good for Android and Apple devices. You can find it at EWTNapps.apps.com. You get, of course, TV and radio. Take two with Jerry and Debbie. So there's never any excuse for not listening.
That's true. That is true. Okay, Jane, you're up next in Peoria, Illinois, listening on St. Bernadette Radio. Hi, Jane. Welcome to Take Two. Hi, Jane.
Hello, Jane. Hi there.
Hi, you're on. Oh, absolutely.
Great. Oh, I'm so excited about this topic. I just wanted to share with you really quickly that my husband and I found the task of parenting from God quite a blessing and responsibility. We had 2 boys and a girl. And when our oldest son was entering high school, we moved to a town for a better school district, and it ended up being quite an affluent town. And we were already teaching responsibility and chores and family participation and things like that. But when they turned 16 and started driving, we took them shopping for a reasonable car. And then we took them to the bank, and they took out a loan, and they paid for it. And what was difficult for them about that, and me, was that in this affluent town, all their friends were being handed, their own cars with no responsibility. But what the responsibility showed us was they got good grades that took them to the insurance agent that got them their discount. And that was a plus for them and us. They got good driving awards from that as well. But when they saw how well that was working out, my husband came up with a similar template that John had for college, because I told them, I'm not going to pay for college if you don't want it. So you bring us a 3.8 to a 4.0, we'll pay 90% of that semester. You bring us a 3.6 to a 3.8, we pay 80% of that semester, and on down the line. Same thing happened, same result. Went straight to the insurance company with their good grades, because boys have to pay more for insurance. So that was quite helpful. But the best part about the car story is God really blessed me the day my oldest son came and said, Mom, I have 2 stubs left on my bank payment roll, and now I know why my name is on the title and yours isn't. And that was just such a great day.
Wow, I got chills when you said that. Holy Spirit chills. That must have made you feel so good that you raised a mature son. I mean, that must have made you feel really wonderful inside.
Yeah, there are all kinds of blessings, and you're always trying to form the heart of your children when you're raising them, get them to be godly, equip them with good discernment so that they can survive without you. We never promise tomorrow, but the best part of that was they really did grow to understand that we weren't trying to be
hard on them.
Yeah, we weren't being hard on them or anything like that. We were teaching them responsibility, but it did take those years of maturity to get there. But once they did, and more parents have said to me, wow, I love that system of, the grade point, because they all had jobs as well, and then they paid for their fun and gas money and insurance. And that taught them, that only takes you so far. So there wasn't a lot of room for extra things that they probably shouldn't have been doing, even though I was very blessed they didn't make those choices. But, just all the way around, it served us well.
You know what we're noticing? Jerry and I are both noticing today. We're actually in the same location today because we're at the Station of the Cross in Buffalo, New York for their final day of their spring appeal, and so we're actually together. So we're right across the table from one another, and we both noticed that the families that are calling in, like yourself, Jane, are very, very creative, and what a wonderful training ground for kids to learn in the context of the family, for them to really appreciate what they're going to experience in the world. And so today, I think this show is a real testament to family, where we know the culture is trying to divide families, split them up, saying it's not necessary. And on the contrary, it's very much necessary. And your example, Jane, is a perfect example of and the other calls as well, of how you got to have that activity in place from the parents to the children, so the children can learn and grow in a proper way with you monitoring. So you know what you want for your children. So you have their best interests at heart. And I think it's just a good show I think we're having today, a very wholesome show that I think can help young families.
I agree, and I just want to add one more thing, please, for listeners. Please know this isn't easy for any of us. This world is waiting to devour our kids, and we have to stand strong. You must be consistent. Consistency in giving your children a working relationship is what's going to sail you through those times when they try to wear you down. And if you stay strong in these principles, you will be rewarded, and God will definitely bless everyone.
Amen. Great stuff, Jane. You have taught us. I know you've taught our listeners today, and we are very grateful that you're a listener and that you called the program today. Have a blessed weekend. Will you do that?
Thanks, both of you, too, and to everybody listening that contributed. This was great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. There's still time, dear friends, to get you on the program and in this discussion. 1-800-585-9396. We're talking about the topic of allowances. Do you give your kids allowances? And how has maybe your thinking or philosophy changed, or maybe it hasn't since you were young? Maybe you didn't get an allowance. Things are a little bit different now in a lot of ways, and we've had some people, Debbie, talk about making it tying it to grades, and others to chores, and some, just simply say, hey, you know what? I know that my kids need a few dollars to get through the week, and it just teaches them fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, it really does. It's making me think of my own childhood, though. I'll tell you, I'm one of 6 kids, and we never really wanted for anything. We didn't have a lot of money, but it always seemed like money was available if it's really needed, or we could work for it, or jobs were available. But I do remember that we just didn't have a chance to negotiate with my parents because, we had a big acre-long backyard with a riding mower, I will tell you. And I can remember Yeah, but I could tell you that I barely could walk, Jerry, and my dad taught me how to do the riding mower, and I was like, Dad, this is going to take me 4 hours. And he was like, well, do you want to eat tonight? Just mow the lawn. We didn't have a choice. We couldn't negotiate. But, it's interesting. It does build character. It does make you kind of stretch and do things that you never thought you could do, and gain that responsibility. So I don't have any regrets. I mean, I think we all grew up with a little bit of different nuances of our childhood circumstances, but I think it does build character as we look back. I do say that you do have to almost laugh at some of the things that happened in your childhood because they were funny when you think about it. At the time, maybe they weren't when you were going through it. But looking back, you kind of start to think about it and reminisce, and it's a good feeling. So this has been a great conversation.
Well, Linda, we're going to get to you in just a second, but the one thing that's shining through brightly today, and I'm sure this is true really of universally of parents, I would have to say for the most part, is parents want the best for their kids. They want them to turn out well, to be able to discern these things and manage things properly and be responsible and all of that. And there are different ways of achieving that. Mm-hmm. We're hearing that here on the program today. So we're going to find out what is on Linda's mind regarding allowances today. Linda is in Mansfield, Ohio, listening on Sacred Heart Radio. Hi, Linda. Welcome to the program.
Hi. A couple of things that I did with my kids, and they're in their 30s now and have never had a money problem or a money problem at college because they earned a lot of scholarship money. But I haven't heard anybody say, like when given gifts of money, to make sure that those thank you notes go out no matter what it is. And I used to tell my kids that money is going into a bank, and when I know that when you show me you've written the thank you notes, then you have access to the money. But they got allowances. But when they turned 14, I told them that the allowances for regular routine things around the house ended, and they needed to be working for that part of the money that went to buy gifts for their friends or their candy or snacks. I said, I take care of all of your needs, but this is the money you use for buying presents for one another and your friends and any of those extra things you want. And when they became freshmen in high school, they each got a checking account added to their savings account so that they learned how to write checks and how to manage the going in and out of money. And it all worked out pretty good. Both my kids encountered students in college who hadn't had a checking account, and they were college students and they didn't know what to do, which I just thought I was kind of aghast at that. So those are my hints.
Yeah, and Linda, what some of the things you shared, and our other listeners too, these things are, Debbie, one of the callers said they don't do this to be hard on their kids,
Right.
but rather to teach them. And I think the flip side of that coin is, I remember when I was young, these can be exciting times. You know, when you open your first bank account, it's not something parents don't say you're going to do this, and you go, oh, do I really have to? But I was like excited, you know, and I'd get my statement, and I had $12 and 14 cents, and I was thinking, wow, this is really awesome. You know, I'm building up a savings, and being able to buy the first car and take your date to the prom and things like that. So I think that there's a side of this that I think Linda's emphasizing, and other callers have too. And for a lot of kids, this can be exciting, going through these stages of maturation and growing up.
Yeah, I like how you said stages, because what you did, Linda, with your children, if I may say, is that you just taught them the skills, the relationship skills, and how to be out in the world and do the things that we all have to do to survive, if you will, and at different stages when they could handle it, so that when they did get out on their own, they knew what to do, or if there was an emergency or a situation, they had those resources. They could tap into their past experiences to really understand how to navigate through it. I think that's brilliant. It sounds like, I love that. Also, another creative approach to the way you did it, Linda. I think it was great. I'm glad you shared it with us today, because remember, we want to kind of tackle this topic from all angles, so that there's young families listening right now, and they're absorbing it. So thank you.
Just one other thing, if you've got a minute, I forgot to mention. For families that feel like they can't get rid of toys or books or clothes or whatever it is because their kids just won't let go of it, I tried to have a garage sale about every other summer, and I would pay the kids for, they'd get all the money for the stuff they put in the garage sale, but in the meantime, we'd come across stuff that they wanted to put in the garage sale, and I would say, this is the kind of thing that goes into the garbage can. This is the kind of thing that goes to Goodwill. This is the kind of thing that goes into the garage sale. And anything that did not go into the garage sale, I paid for it by weight. And it taught them how to let go of stuff. It was just amazing. In fact, they're much better at it than I am.
That's fabulous. I could learn that skill. That's excellent.
Yeah,
really.
We're always anxious for a garage sale and to clean out clean out their closets and their drawers to get paid for it. So it worked out well.
Wow, that is amazing. Thanks, Linda. Thank you so much for imparting that to us. You're just a wonderful soul. We can hear it, and we appreciate you listening to Take Two and taking the time today to impart the wisdom to all of us that we're learning today.
Thanks, Linda. Yeah.
Do we have time for Doug?
We're going to hear that music here in just a second. Doug, apologies, our dear friend in Virginia listening on Sirius XM 130. Appreciate the comment, Doug. I wish we were going to have time to get to it, but
maybe he can
there's
email
that
us.
Music. Yeah, I mean, we literally have less than 60 seconds. So God bless you, Doug, and have a great weekend. We wish we could have gotten to you.
Yes.
We have kind of a related topic on Monday. We're talking about when we were young, Debbie, and it's been brought up on this show today. We don't necessarily think toward the future. We think we're invincible.
We do.
And yet later in life, the aches, the pains,
Catches
the
up to
creaky
us.
bones, and all of that. So our question for you on Monday: do you remember when you thought you were invincible?
I do.
And how has your thinking changed and how you treat yourself and your body?
Oh, this is going to be an interesting topic on Monday. Dear listeners, thank you so much. You did a great job. Happy Cinco de Mayo again. Have a beautiful and blessed weekend. Please pray for the Station of the Cross. They're finishing their final hours, so we want 100% full funding. See you real soon.